Welcome, fellow Phoenixes, to the Spiritual Phoenix Podcast, where we make a daily offering to the divine by putting our past on the pyre, searching the smoke for spirituality, turning the ashes into art, adapting isolation into connection, and manifesting mental wellness. I'm a spiritual escape artist called Ross Cessna, and I wish to ignite the authentic expression of your soul into any avenue that elevates consciousness. I don't want to tell you what to think, but to get you to think, create your own understanding, and originally articulate yourself in a way that is uplifting. We are the artists of our lives, and today is a blank canvas. Let's collectively create a better tomorrow. And right now, I'd like to take a moment to reflect upon what we're grateful for today. Today, I'm grateful to have some various ways to escape and to have a healthy balance with that ability to escape today. And with that, I'll get into some quotes for the day. Let us toast to animal pleasures, to escapism, to rain on the roof and instant coffee, to unemployment insurance and library cards, to absinthe and good-hearted landlords, to music and warm bodies and contraceptives, and to the quote-unquote good life, whatever it is and wherever it happens to be. And that was said by Hunter S. Thompson. People talk about escapism as if it's a bad thing. Once you've escaped, once you come back, the world is not the same as when you left it. You come back to it with skills, weapons, knowledge you didn't have before. Then you are better equipped to deal with your current reality. That was said by Neil Gaiman. Music and art and culture is escapism, and escapism sometimes is healthy for people to get away from reality. The problem is when they stay there, and that was said by Chuck D. For a long time, I had this opinion that escapism really was a bad thing, and I think that our culture portrays that. But there's a bit by a comedian called Doug Stanhope that I would reference, and it really resonates with me a lot. He says people like to kind of minimize TV. I don't personally watch a lot of TV. I watch documentaries, but he says if you read a book for 8 hours and I watch TV for 8 hours, do you have laundry done? No. And there's a lot of validity in that. And granted, I understand that reading can exercise your mind and your imagination. Sometimes you need to let your mind relax. Sometimes you need to kind of dabble in things that a lot of people perceive as unhealthy. I mean, for example, I used to play a lot of video games growing up. I still occasionally do play video games. I've had times where I made it seem like video games were the worst thing ever. And there's been times where I made it seem like video games were the best thing ever. There's a lot of evidence that supports that if you play video games in a balanced manner, like, I forget what the number is, it was like 10 hours a week or something like that, that it has a lot of healthy benefits from it. Now, I think that there's lots of healthy forms of escapism, and again, it's about balance. Anything can be bad for you if it's imbalanced. Religion in itself, or spirituality, it can be a form of escapism. Some people, like I talked about with the spiritual overdose thing, they overdo it. Music, it's escapism in a sense. I mean, granted, I don't really know that you can overdo music. I guess if you're playing it too loud and you upset your neighbors. I listen to a lot of music throughout the day. When I used to work in kitchens, music was my escapism. If I was in the middle of a rush and I was able to throw on some music and sing along, I was able to get through it so much easier. In the kitchens that I didn't work with music, it was very, very difficult for me to manage things successfully. Other forms of escapism that I find that are healthy is writing, art, playing a musical instrument, playing board games, there's so many forms of escapism that can benefit you. And it doesn't mean that you bury your head in the sand like an ostrich. You're aware that the world's still going on, but you say, if I tune out for 30 minutes or an hour right now, is the world going to collapse because I'm not present there? And the reality is no. I mean, meditation in itself is a form of escapism. It's healthy, but it's still escapism. I mean, people like to really vilify escapism like I have. And the funny thing is, even that, in my opinion, is still escapism, because they're escaping the bigger problems by making what somebody else does their focus, and they're escaping themselves. And although I no longer use drugs or alcohol, that is escapism. And I think that certain substances, although I'm no longer going to use them, can be used for healthy escapism. Psychedelics, marijuana, those things, they can be used in a healthy way. The issue is that some people's balance and relationship to them can be unhealthy, like myself. I've crossed a line personally in my life to where I can no longer use those spiritual tools or entheogens or things like that. It's kind of like you get so many free passes, and I used up all my free passes. I'm okay with that. I get to enjoy other healthy forms of escapism that I was kind of unable to appreciate as much now that I'm no longer using. Going for a walk, healthy escapism. Having a good conversation with a friend, healthy escapism. I mean, it all comes down to balance. Even though I don't like sports or things like that particularly, or I don't like to watch them, I should say. I like to play some sports. That is definitely escapism. I mean, how many people go to a game and then they focus just on the game and they forget about everything else? I think that I've really talked about all the healthy elements of escapism, and I think that the negative elements of escapism are already pretty much known. So I'm going to put this episode on the pyre. If you're listening to the podcast, you can watch me on YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube or Facebook Live, you can listen to the podcast. A link below is a key to all my other links. I love, respect, and appreciate all of you. Make today magical with the attitude of gratitude and a mentality of manifestation. There's a link, or there's a post on my website for a tarot card reading for the week, and it's by day. If you'd like to check it out, check the link below. Love and light. Namaste.